Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our latest webinar. And thanks for joining us this afternoon for our last webinar of 2022. So today, what are we going to be looking at? So today we're going to have a think about what we've achieved over the last year, but really it's about celebrating what the forces have done around the National Digital Data and Technology Strategy. And just to remind you of the 5 ambitions in the strategy, the seamless citizen experience, the addressing harm, the enabling our officers and staff, through digital, empowering the private sector and embedding a whole public system approach are really key to lots of the work that forces have done. And sometimes they don't even realise that the work they've been delivering has really been part of that strategy. And then the 7 enablers that you can see on screen there again. It's very easy to, when you see some of the inputs we've got today, you'll see where those enablers are being delivered and are really the foundations as how we move forward. We have got an awful lot to get through today, so I'm going to get straight into our sessions, and we've got all the business engagement team involved today who have been looking at what forces have been achieving and trying to reflect on what forces have done and share that with you today, and to give you some idea of things that you could potentially be building on as we move into the next year. So one thing that's been very much in the news around policing over the last few months in particular was the change in the national police response to domestic burglaries. Now, I'm going to ask Rachel to explain a little bit more about the Power app that supports burglary investigations in a second, but we already had this available in the solutions catalogue as the Home Secretary and police forces and the National Police Chief Council made the announcement. So, Rachel, perhaps you could explain what the Power app is and how it works?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. It's a simple to use application, and it provides a consistent model of data capture in relation to burglary offences. Designed potentially to support more the less experienced officers when attending a scene, and it gives prompts and support to ensure that an effective investigation provides a better service for the victim. I'm joined here today by Chief Inspector Doug Blackwood from Humberside Police, who's going to take us through this in a little bit more detail. But Doug, a question for you. You've been working with the Home Office around improving the policing response to domestic burglary. As part of that work, you engaged a Microsoft Go partner, Tisky, to design an app to support officers at the scene. What do you think the outcome of that is, and where do you see PDS supporting the work you did, Doug?
I'm the staff officer for the lead for the National Burglary Portfolio. About 18 months ago now, we were laid down the challenge to upskill frontline cops with how to record and investigate burglary better and more consistently. We turned to the police digital service to look at what technology was available to assist us with that, and they presented to us the ability of using Power apps in policing to do this. The Power app model is really simple to use and intuitive for that frontline cop. We were really fortunate to get sponsorship from Microsoft to work with gold partner Tisky to build this app, which has provided an ability to give frontline cops the ability to record a burglary and ask the right questions in the palm of their hand that would normally take years of experience to develop. The apps allowed us to ensure the right questions are asked each time, the right evidence is captured each time, and most importantly for me, the victim is given the correct message and advice following that burglary to ensure that they do get victim satisfaction and an understanding of what's happened, and are given proper preventative advice from experts around what to do next. The joy of a Power app means it's free for police forces to deploy within the tenant that they've got already through 365, and it's simple to use, and it can be deployed really simply to the frontline cops' mobile phones. The art of the possible in relation to this is the start of a journey. Once we've rolled this out across the UK as a Power app, we can build on it, develop it, and enable further questioning, further advice, and further guidance to be pushed out for other crime type areas, and also develop the question set within burglary.
Thanks, Doug, for sharing that with us. That's really informative, I'm sure, for everybody joining us on the call. Just to make you aware as well, the burglary app that Doug's just taken us through there is available to you on the solutions catalogue, which I think Dave has now got on the screen for you. So please take a look in there. There is many other apps within the solutions catalogue that may be of interest to your force. So please make yourself familiar with those solutions that are in there. Speak to your business engagement manager about them, and yeah, let's see what we can do in the new year. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, Doug, for joining us today. That's really helpful. And of course, there's a webinar on the Burglary Power app available on the website as well, so you can do it. So, of course, making the technology and the solutions available is only part of the story. Gemma, perhaps you could explain a little bit more about how the Change Champions Network works and the support that brings to forces.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Dave. So the Change Champions are key to supporting users in adopting technology, and there's now a national Change Champion network in place that supports them, and there's been some really great sessions over the course of this year. So Paul Sharp, who's a superintendent for digital transformation in Norfolk and Suffolk, has been involved in some of those sessions. So Paul, can you explain what you've got from the network and a little bit around the benefits from chairing some of those sessions?
Certainly, thank you very much. The first thing from my perspective was to help build my own knowledge. I come from a local policing command background, and from a technology point of view, I use technology but haven't been directly involved with it. And the opportunity to get involved in the sessions to understand what other people were doing, other forces around trying to implement change, especially around an IT point of view, it's been really, really helpful to consider your own perspective, what it looks like in force to you, revisit your local arrangements, have conversations with people that are working as your digital champions, and then trying to identify what might work best. How can we improve the way we work from a, in my case, Norfolk and Suffolk perspective. It's also given opportunity to improve opportunities around networking as well, in relation to both colleagues within the Police Digital Service and also colleagues from Microsoft as well. And in particular, opportunity to chair the event was really, really useful to provide me with a deeper dive into the items I was involved with, which in my case was the use of Teams in an operational policing setting, both from an internal police station perspective, but also operationally outside as well. And the lead up to that enabled me to work with Microsoft and PDS to have a better understanding of what the actual elements look like, as well as helping to sort of build the session and then to run it on the day. In my case, it was over 2 different sessions. It was really, really beneficial. I really enjoyed doing it, and you know, got a lot out of it, which I've been able to work on since then. And I would certainly encourage other people to consider the opportunity to do it if they so wish. It works really, really well.
Thanks, Paul. That was really useful to understand that. So before we go, I just wanted to draw your attention to some of the support resources that are out there and available either through PDS or through Microsoft, particularly around the Force collaboration channel. And also there's webinars and various workshops. So really we would encourage everyone to get involved, and they're free of charge, and really just contact your business engagement manager if you want to find out how to get involved in those.
That's great, thanks, Gemma. And if we think next about the challenge of bringing this sort of technology into policing, we're going to move over to Warwickshire Police, and Russ, who's the business engagement manager, has been supporting them. Russ, could you start off by perhaps explaining the challenge that faced Warwickshire and what they've been doing over the last 9 months or so?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, Warwickshire Police have been on what can be described as an incredible journey to transform their IT portfolio in this very short period of time, but only been able to utilise or call upon minimal resources to implement these changes due to the size of the force that they're actually in that area. I'm not going to steal the thunder of our guest this morning, so I've got the pleasure of being joined by Katie Burgess, who is the business change manager for Warwickshire Police. We'll go into a bit more detail about what they've actually done during the last 9 months. So morning, Katie. If I can ask, how is adopting and using the tools available to you from the digital strategy enhanced Warwickshire's policing capability?
Well, as we know, Microsoft 365 is a responsive and adaptable technology that can be designed entirely to fit the needs of a force. And that's exactly what we've done. We're now in full control of our own digital development and the changes that we need to make in order to transform and continue to deliver the force's vision of protecting people from harm. The most significant tool we have used has been Teams, simply to enable remote working, an agile workforce, and the flexibility to collaborate from anywhere has been invaluable. And that's probably the biggest change we've noticed to date. We have been able to quickly develop a number of new power apps in order to support new ways of working or to replace capabilities that were perhaps lost. For example, our stop and search app. The app has been designed so all mandatory fields must be submitted, and the app has also made the stop and search process much faster to complete, more accessible, for example, because it can be accessed via a force mobile phone or a tablet or laptop. The back-end data can be accessed by an approved user via SharePoint lists, which in turn enables Power BI reporting. Those views can be created out of the box, thus creating an effective reporting and compliance monitoring solution. The technology has enabled us to look at our current processes and see how we can do things differently, more efficiently, and embed the tools in the way we work and how we work. And that goes both operationally and in the back office. PDS have supported us in being able to upskill our workforce and create a 200-strong network of champions, which have supported the adoption and rollout of Microsoft 365 at Warwickshire. By giving access to a network of other forces also going on this journey and sharing experiences and solutions, that's proven to be invaluable in supporting what we're doing and how we're doing it, and also not wasting those very precious resources. The frequent webinars and access to training from Microsoft was really useful in being able to demonstrate the capabilities of Microsoft 365 to the force. And this is just at the start. We're still only in our first year of fully using and embracing the tools in Microsoft 365 and that digital toolkit. So there's lots more to come.
That's great. Thank you very much, Katie, for that update. So for everyone out there, obviously on the screen at the moment is the map and the names of your business engagement managers. If you don't already know who they are, please utilise us. We are the key to helping you achieve what Warwickshire achieved in the last 9 to 10 months of their change around there. You can see how much it's benefited them. So please utilise us, go onto the website, use the contact forms, and we can help you be on the same journey as Warwickshire have been on in that last presentation.
Thanks, Russ. And we're going to move over to how L&D has been supporting and how they've embraced the technology change and the delivery of the National Digital Data and Technology Strategy. Mike, perhaps you can come in and explain the ambition that L&D have been having in relation to embracing the technology and able to utilise that in their daily work.
Thank you, Dave. I think what's been really interesting with the learning and development community is that if we think back to a couple of years ago when the pandemic hit, this was one of the first areas that really embraced the use of 365 and digital technology. Now, as we are moving out of that, having to use it, and now thinking about what the future of learning and development can look like, I've been really encouraged by what I've seen across policing around how police L&D departments have embraced the newer ways of working, the new opportunities and the benefits that it brings not only to the modern learner, but also to policing overall by looking at creating new, modern, innovative learning and the use of the likes of 365 to take their work forward. And a fantastic example of that is Leicestershire Police Force, where they have embraced the use of 365. And I'm really pleased that we have Mel Davison with me, who leads on the Learning Academy, which Leicestershire Police have used to develop the tools of Microsoft 365 and SharePoint to bring a new experience. So Mel, can you please tell us how, by using Microsoft 365, you've been able to transform how learning takes place within your force?
Sure. So we have used the a 365 package to create our digital learning site, which is called the Digital Academy at Leicestershire Police Force. And this is our learning site to transition into a one-stop shop for learning for our police officers and staff, meaning that they're able to access any learning content at any time that they wish. It's on their schedule anytime they wish, whether that's during the day or even 2 a.m. in the morning. And what we've done as well is make accessible to our officers and staff the full range of resources that are available at Microsoft for people to upskill and learn how to use those tools. An example of which, in our local policing directorate toolkit, we've created neighbourhood policing on SharePoint. And in each of these, it's a subpage that has Microsoft products like Microsoft Forms and utilizing Sway. So we've used the complete package of Microsoft 365 tools in building our SharePoint site.
Thank you, Mel. And I think this is just one of the many examples that are out there in policing at the moment, where we're looking to modernise learning, bring it into the flow of work, have that opportunity where people can learn and look for their solutions sooner rather than later. And I think the future over the next 12 to 18 months is incredibly exciting for learning and development and the use of digital data and technology. And one of the opportunities that's happening on a national basis is that the Police Digital Service is working really closely now with the College of Policing. And over the last sort of 6 to 9 months, we have started to really thoroughly explore the opportunities where, with their experience and knowledge and our understanding of the technological world and what's coming through, is really looking to take learning forward in policing. Don't get me wrong, the classroom still has a place, but I think moving forward, blended learning will become more accessible, you'll be more agile, more suited towards the learner, as well as ensuring policing gets the right skills and capabilities across in the appropriate way, in a timely way, and in a development way. So great opportunities for next year. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. And I know you're working very closely with the college, but also some of the tech providers that we've been working with across the whole of the last year or so and beyond. And it's not only the forces we're looking to support, we work very closely with the tech sector and our partners, and that's brought up things like the Burglary app we saw earlier, the Oscar Kilo Operation Hampshire app that was launched earlier this year as well. But Richard, could you perhaps explain how we've been working to bring in Microsoft and some of their partners together with Derbyshire Police on an app and a national approach around tackling sporting events?
Thanks, David. Yeah, the football use case was a really fantastic piece of work. Took some time to pull together, but it's really using all the great tools of 365 that are available to forces right now, and it really exploits this tool set to its maximum to get more efficient and effective planning for major football events and other sporting events as well. It could easily be applied to a number of situations and circumstances. And the football use case was a really great piece of collaborative work between Microsoft, PDS, Derbyshire Constabulary and the National Football Policing Unit. I'm now going to bring in Gavin Atkins, who's a local project manager on their digital delivery team. Gavin, you're the project manager in Derbyshire that helped pilot the football use case power process into force. I wonder if you can tell me what the main benefits of the solution will be. Appreciate it's still early doors. Secondly, can you tell me how the partnership worked between yourselves, Microsoft, the National Football Policing Unit and PDS?
Yep, right now we're seeing some very positive outcomes for the DFOs in Derbyshire as part of the planning and management of the football operations. We've seen reduction in duplication, and there's a reduction in the use of emails as well going out. So, you know, it's more efficient, and also keeping data contained, reducing the risk of any breaches and that type of thing. The DFOs, they can pick up the planning at short notice in the event of absence. So yeah, if anyone's off, very easy to pick that up because it's all being managed centrally now. So the planning activity is kind of future proofed. Also going forwards, see benefits for the silver commanders and tactical advisors when it comes to the management of these types of events and moving it digital, and certainly within the SharePoint list, because it's all being stored in that one central area. And also, if we can solve the issue around officers and staff getting access to Wi-Fi at the stadiums, I think there's going to be some really big benefits to the frontline officers on the day who have got access to the Matchday app. And the second part, just around the partnership perspective, I think we've worked really well alongside PDS and Microsoft. It helped that we've all had that common goal, and there's been a lot of expertise that we've been able to tap in along the way, and we've had really great support throughout the process.
Thanks, Gavin. That's really appreciated. I just want to say that we are in a number of talks with other forces around deploying this solution. And if you want to take advantage of the solution, then please reach out to one of your business engagement managers nationally, either through the contact forms or through your own personal relationship that you will have with your own dedicated business engagement manager. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Richard. And it's fair to say we had dozens of examples that we could have worked on today to highlight. And what's really important, these are celebrating the success of the forces and what they've been able to achieve. And we've just been playing a part to support it and perhaps helping to share with others so that others can benefit from that same work. So picking on from that, I thought it'd be worth just quickly sharing some of the ways that you've been engaging with us over the last year. So if I just pop up some very quick numbers, and we get a huge audience, really proud of the audience we get on live webinars, but it's really interesting when you look at the YouTube channel where you get the replays. We get over 13,000 views of our YouTube channel in the last year. I did these figures literally yesterday, and the amount of time people are watching our top 6 webinars are there of the year. And actually one of our most popular webinars this year was one we recorded last year about the use of Sway. And you can see the way we are dealing with the amount of contact that you put in. If you put a call for service in through our website, then we will respond to you as much as we can do. And in fact, 439 of you used our Microsoft Forms embedded in the website, which kicks off an automatic flow and comes through to the team to make sure you get responses. So we are actually using the tools we're using a great deal, and we really do encourage you to share these webinars on and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and so you get an alert when there's a new webinar available for you. Now I'm going to bring a word in from the boss now, and oops, wrong boss, wrong one again. Let's bring in Ian Bell, from the CEO of the Police Digital Service, to reflect on what you've seen over the last year and what we're looking forward to the next year. Ian.
Thanks, Dave. What a delightful set of pictures. But if I look as good as Bruce Springsteen does in a few years' time, then I'll be really happy. And firstly, let me just say an amazing thank you to everybody who's engaged in this process, the BE team who continue to put fabulous content together that's driven by brilliant work from across the forces, everybody who's partaken in the webinars through the course of the year. I hope they continue to be as useful as they certainly seem to be. And I guess one of the commitments that we made from a PDS perspective right from the outset was about making sure that our role becomes understood, that we're seen to be supporting forces and our broader stakeholders, be that out into wider law enforcement, be that partners, be that suppliers, etc. On that basis, the important defining factor here for me is we continue to strive towards delivering the 5 key ambitions of the National Digital Strategy. We've held a mantra, and I hope we continue to live up to the mantra of for policing, by for policing, with policing. It's been a recurring theme over the last few years, and it's massively important to me that we're not seen to be doing to anybody, but we are working with and on behalf of, and I guess the big bit here that we continue to push through is the nature of engagement and the team that we've built. The BE function is a critical enabler for me to continue to drive that emphasis around support and really begin to put to really emphasize the great work that's been going on. You'll see that we have a team of very experienced colleagues on that basis, be that with police staff background, officer background. I think hopefully certainly from my perspective, what I've seen is they are trusted advocates for the forces and certainly bring a huge amount of knowledge and understanding, not only to your environments, but also to the work we've been part of generating. We've seen some significant achievements over the course of this year that certainly through this group that really continue to push PDS as part of the conversation when colleagues are working on digital programs. And hopefully, you know, again, for me, as PDS has grown over the course of the last year, certainly, you know, since its birth 18 months ago, you know, what I want to see is that, you know, this team continue to remain, you know, the front door for our business and really begin to work with you and wider teams to bring the right people together, sharing knowledge. The more that we share, you know, hopefully that we get, the better we get. You know, the focus on efficiency, effectiveness and productivity runs through the heart of all of us. We want to make sure that we continue to get that right. You know, the change champions process that, you know, we've already heard about this morning continues to support the virtual learning group. You know, hopefully, you know, we've seen and now firmly established the PDS Force collaboration channels. And, you know, we have the ever-growing nature of the solutions catalogue, of which I love the collaboration and the contribution that's coming from all areas from a Force perspective. I'm staggered by the dozens and dozens of interactive webinars, workshops and events that we've put together, really beginning to support the nature of change and evergreen technology alongside the legacy systems that continue to be in place. Sessions on accessibility and how tech in the hands of forces is really supporting the vital work of diversity and inclusion and equality in the basis of that. The BE team, you know, one of the standout pieces of work this year, or a couple of highlights for me, one was the Ops Arteria Bluestone training earlier in the year, which brought 1,000 colleagues from across the country to really think about the improving response to the VORG and the Wiser Razzo agenda. You know, it's pivotal, it's clearly in the eyes of all beholders, and it's something that we need to make sure that we're absolutely supporting to that agenda. The in-person event in GMP, you know, seeing 130 colleagues come together off the back of what's been pretty grim and distant last 2 years, being able to facilitate in a way that allows us to bring folk together and really engage and collaborate, making sure that we're getting the best from significant investment that we make, certainly from a 365 and broader perspective, is huge. And all I can promise is, you know, certainly from my intent, is that we want to hold more national events. We want to continue to contribute to national working groups. You know, we're working directly with the MPCC, the APCC, the college, other national bodies, to really begin to make sure that we're drawing all of those perspectives together, you know, creating some interoperability between each of those channels that really means that we can consider the themes, some of the issues, and really begin to think about some of the broader opportunities that can come with the landing of some of these digital solutions. And, you know, lastly for me, you know, I think, you know, what we want to show is we are committed, you know, to continuing to be open, to be transparent, to be accessible, to be responsive. And all I can ask in the same ways you have done over the course of this year is to continue to involve our engagement team in your internal meetings, you know, create that access to them, let them try and help where they can, let them, you know, bring other ideas and other solutions that are being generated elsewhere, and really think about, you know, them as some of the most appropriate people who we can really begin to plug in and really think about the nature of your challenges. And ultimately, you know, for me, that's the path, I think, for me, that will continue to see the success of the strategy being landed and allow us to develop the strategy at the same point. Dave, a bit of a ramble and a bit of a blurb from me, but, you know, this doesn't happen without the engagement of everybody, you know, the nature of this team and the shape that it brings, but it doesn't come without great content that's led by our forces at the same point. So I'm really grateful. It's been a super year on that basis, and hopefully it only continues to grow stronger as we move ahead into next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. And you know, today's been really much about celebrating what the force has done, and 100%. We do make these interactive. So, Esther, can we hit a couple of questions? We will extend a couple of minutes, but let's go for the first question that's coming from the chat.
Yes, certainly. So, kind of picking up on some of the things Ian was saying about the solutions catalogue. The first question is, as a supplier to UK policing, can we access the catalogue so we can tell our customers what is available?
Rich, are you able to come back on that one?
Yeah, obviously it's immediately available on the PDS website, and I think we shared the link within the chat. If you want to download the solution, it's really important that you engage with your local project team and IT resources, just have a conversation about what you're trying to achieve and whether it's the right step. But you need to be a member of the PDS tenant to download the solution from the catalogue. And if you need that access to the PDS tenant, then please reach out to one of the business engagement managers through the contact form, and we will be able to assist with that access.
Brilliant. And Esther?
Yeah, good. So the next question is about challenges. So what are the have you overcome any challenges in embedding teams in your organisation? So I think it's aimed at other forces, but from a PDS perspective, what are the challenges we're hearing about, and how do we think they can be overcome?
Ian, if you could come in on that.
Good question. I think, well, I guess the bit for me around embedding, the one thing that I think the continual feedback we see is the challenge around very busy local change programs, and really beginning to build upon, wanting to see the NEP experience landed across the whole of the organisation. Once we get, I think, that nature of teams facilitated across that whole basis, then you can begin to exploit into other channels. Seeing it visited and pushed out onto mobile, etc., becomes a real way forward in the way that we change the nature of how we can communicate more dynamically than just on our desktops and on our laptops. I think the urge is to see everybody live the experience of 365 from end to end, and seeing all of our users having the capability would be my only view as I look outside in.
Esther, one last question.
Wanting to know more about Viva, really. Viva, I was wondering if Mike could talk to us a little bit about that to kind of round us out.
Thanks, Esther. So I did drop an answer in the chat. The question, I think, was, did Leicestershire consider Microsoft Viva and Viva Learning when they were building their learning academy? And I know Mel is in the audience, and if the person who wanted to explore more, if they can drop me an email, I'm happily connect you with Mel. But I do know that when Leicestershire started to build their academy, the Viva Learn option within policing hadn't really been started to roll out and be driven out. And I think what the example that Leicestershire had carried out with regards to the creation of their learning academy, using everything that was part of their box, that was part of their kit that they bought as part of the operation across policing. And I think it just demonstrates how well all the tools can knit together to create that environment without having to go through to something like Viva Learning. I'm sure it'll be a consideration moving forward, but I would just, I suppose, stress to people, check to see what you've got currently available with that is open to you as part of your 365 offering, because there's some fantastic tools that, used in the right way, can bring some wonderful results for you.
Thanks, Mike. And I know we've run over a little bit, and we don't like running over on these, but we've had such a good audience today, and having the opportunity of having Ian Ball, who's joined us today, was really valuable. We are answering the questions live in the chat, and if you have anyone, please do reach out to us. Just looking ahead into the next year now, we have got our first webinars already planned for the new year. We're going to take a little bit of time just at the beginning of the year to get everything in place, and you can see that we're coming back with a webinar on standards, on poll standards. Then we're going to be coming back on following up from the GMP events where we talked about collaboration and the collaboration charter. But I want to give you early heads up now that we have now announced the date for the next Police Digital Summit taking place in 2023. It's really important people register for updates. We've already got an amazing level of interest in attending that, and it's going to be a bit different than we've had it in previous years, a much wider focus rather than just about the technology, really thinking about the digital and the data. So if you scan the QR code that's on screen now, you can register for updates, tell us how you want to get involved, and importantly, tell us what you'd like to be see on the agenda, what sort of content you'd like to be taking part. So please do register for that, scan the link, go to the PDS website where you'll find all the details. I just want to thank everybody who's contributed to today's webinar and for the webinars across the year. It's amazing success. You'd give us great feedback that you really do value these webinars, and we want to wish you a peaceful and quiet Christmas for those of you in operational roles, but hopefully we'll see you all again in the new year. And remember that PDS will be available throughout. We have got colleagues working through the Christmas period, so if you do need any support, please reach out to us, and hopefully see you at our next webinars in the new year. Thanks for joining us today.